FRM Part 1, Financial Markets and Products. Next aim statement is determination of forward and future prices. Under this aim statement, first we'll differentiate between two kinds of assets, investment assets and consumption assets, and then we look at the relationship between the spot and the future prices for different kinds of assets. Then we look at the concepts of short selling and short squeeze. We also look at the difference between the forward and the future contracts and understand the relationship between the forward price and the spot price of a contract. Then we learn to calculate the forward price given the underlying assets price, then with or without the short sales or consideration to the income or yield in terms of dividend, etc. of the underlying asset. And then we develop an argument with respect to no arbitrage condition for supporting these prices. Then we look at relationship between the forward and future prices of the same underlying asset. Then we learn to calculate the forward contract on the foreign exchange rate using interest rate parity relationship that will determine the relationship of spot and future exchange rate. Then we look at the concepts of income, dividend yield, etc., storage cost and convenience yield. Then we learn to calculate the future price of commodities based on the income, storage cost and convenience yield, the concept which we take in detail. Then we define and calculate the use of cost of carry model and the forward prices where the underlying asset is having certain interim cash flows and the other case where it does not have. Then we'll also describe various kinds of delivery options which are available in futures market, and we see how do they influence the future price. Then we look at the relationship between the current future prices and expected future spot prices, looking at the impact of systematic and non-systematic risk. And finally we define two situations, contango and backwardation. Then we look at the impact of contango and backwardation and their relationship between commodity futures and spot prices relating to the cost of carry model with respect to contango and backwardation. So let us start looking at these concepts. First we differentiate between the two important kinds of assets, the investment assets and consumption assets. The investment assets are the ones which are held by significant number of investors where the primary purpose is investment, though it may not be the only or the exclusive purpose, but the main purpose is investment. For example, in the case of stocks, bonds, gold, etc. Then there might be certain consumption assets which are held primarily for consumption purpose. For example, copper, oil, they are typically used in the industry. They are not kept for investment purpose. For investment assets, we can use the arbitrage concept in order to determine the forward and future price. So that makes a difference here. The same arbitrage concepts will not be directly applicable on consumption assets because they have convenience yield, the advantage of keeping them, or the storage cost associated with them. So the forward price will not be simply a function of spot price. So there are a lot of other things which need to be included. That is why we cannot use the arbitrage concept directly in the case of consumption assets, but for investment assets it can be directly applicable. Let us look at the next concept, short selling. So short selling is done in order to gain from fall in price. Suppose an investor or a trader is expecting that the price of a commodity or an asset is going to fall, then in order to take advantage of that situation, he should create a position of short selling. So the short seller is going to borrow the stock from the broker so that he or she can sell that directly in the market, and later when the price falls as expected, he can purchase the stock from the market and return it to the broker. Since he is expecting the price fall, he will be able to buy at a lower price and return it to the broker. This process is called covering the short position. So he has created a short position in the starting where he has borrowed the stock and sold it in the market. And covering the short position means returning the stock to the broker by buying it from the market. Now, the investors need to keep margin account with the broker. So if there is any change in the price, so that adjustment can be made in the margin account. Another important concept is related to the dividends. So short seller pays all the dividend to the lender of the security. Since the broker is lending the stock to the short seller and at the end of the period he gets it back, in the process he will lose the dividend. So that dividend has to be returned back to him by the short seller. So if we look at the cash flows, in the beginning there will be a positive cash flow when the short seller is borrowing the stock and selling the stock in the market. So it is a positive cash flow for him. Then if the dividend is received, that should be a negative cash flow because the dividend has to be paid to the broker from whom he has borrowed the stock, and then in the end he has to buy the share from the market to return to the broker. So that will be a negative cash flow. So this will be a net return for the short seller. Suppose in the starting, suppose the price was 100 and there was a dividend of $2 issued during that period, and the short seller was able to buy back it at 97. So there will be a gain of $1. But if he could buy it at less than 98, there will be a loss to the short seller. Now the short seller also provide collateral to guarantee the repurchase so that there is no credit risk. Now let us look at one other typical situation in this case. When the contract is still open and the broker runs out of shares to borrow, because of that the investor is forced to cover his position. That is called short squeeze. So there might be a case where in the open contract the broker does not have shares to borrow. So the investor will be forced to cover his position before the target itself. That is called short squeeze. Now let us move further to the next concept. Forward versus future comparison. Let us see what are the main differences between the two kinds of contracts. First and the foremost difference between the forward and future contract is that forward contracts are non-standardized. They are generally based on the negotiations between the buyer and the seller, whereas the futures contracts are standardized. The time of delivery, the place of delivery, the quality of the asset, everything is standardized. And because of that, the forward contracts are traded over the counter, while the future contracts are traded on the exchange. That is why they are standardized. Because of the same reason, there will be a counterparty risk in the case of forward contracts, since they are not standardized and not traded on the exchange. They are largely traded on the over the counter market, whereas there is no counterparty risk in the case of future, as they are traded on the exchange and the mark to market settlement is done. In the case of forward contracts, the delivery date is fixed. It is one specific date on which the delivery of the underlying has to be made. But in the case of futures, there may be multiple delivery dates, or there might be a range of dates in which delivery has to be made. The forward contracts are to be settled only at the maturity of the contract, not before that. So that is why the risk keeps increasing there. But in the case of future contracts, they are settled daily, mark to market price. Forward contracts are settled through delivery or through cash, while the future contracts are usually cash settled even prior to the maturity. They are not usually taken to the delivery. Most of the times they are settled through cash. So these are the main differences. Now let us look at the forward pricing of the forward contract. Let us look at the assumptions first. First assumption is that we are assuming there is going to be same tax rate on all net profits. We are not treating capital gains or yield gains differently here. Then we are assuming all the borrowing or lending is happening at the risk-free rate, though it may not be practical, but that is the assumption we are going to take while doing the pricing of forward contract. Then arbitrage opportunities will be exploited as and when they are arising. So we are assuming that the markets are efficient enough so that as soon as an arbitrage opportunity and inefficiency arises, the traders look at it and immediately take advantage of it. And the last assumption is there is no transaction cost or there is no restriction on the short sale. So anybody who wants to get into a short sale position can do so. So there cannot be any restriction on either side. So based on that, there will be a relationship which looks like this. The future contract, the future price is equal to the spot price into e to the power RT, where R is the risk-free rate in this case and T is the time period, time to maturity of the contract. Since there has to be no arbitrage relationship between the future and the spot, this relationship should hold good. So R is continuously compounded risk-free rate, annual rate. Let us see how this relationship hold good. For example, the spot price of an asset is currently at 100. Risk-free rate continuous compounded, continuously compounded risk-free rate is say 7%. And the time to expiry is say 1 year. 1 year from now the contract will be expiring. So what should be the price of the forward contract? So based on this relationship, we can find out that it is going to be 100 into e to the power 0.07 into 1. So this will be equal to 107.25. So based on the formula, this is the forward rate. Let us see what happens if instead of 107 the forward price is say 109. So in that case there is an arbitrage opportunity. Since the price is more than the ideal price, the person can sell forward contract at 109. That money will be received 109. That will be this money will be used, but since this contract is a future contract, he will be able to receive this cash at the end. In the meanwhile, he has to borrow the stock, will rather borrow the money and buy the stock. So he borrows $100 now at the rate of 7% and buy this stock. At the end of the period, he sells the stock at 109 because he was short in the future. He will get this much money. Then he has to return these $100 which he had borrowed to buy the stock, and he has to pay the interest also, which was 7% overall. This is compounded rate, so the interest is going to be 7.25. So he's going to make 1.75 risk-free profit. So this situation is arising because the forward price did not follow the no arbitrage rule. Similarly, if the forward price is 105, then the person should have long position in the future and he will short sell the asset underlying. So when the person short sell the asset, he receives $100 immediately, that is the price, and he invests these $100 at the continuous compounded risk-free rate, so that at the end of the maturity, at the end of 1 year, he receives $7.25. So this is the money he will receive in the end, and since he is long in the future contract, he has to buy at the time of expiry, so he can buy at 105. So minus 105, this is the amount he has to pay, and then he can return it to the broker from whom he has borrowed the asset for short selling. So he is going to again gain 2.25. So this is going to be his gain. This is again risk-free arbitrage gain. But in real life, this kind of situation do not arise since the forward prices follow no arbitrage relationship. So in the market, the price is going to be 107.25 only, so that these kind of risk-free arbitrage situation do not arise. Now let us see how this relationship changes when there are many other factors are playing their role. So if there is an income or dividend which is being paid on the stock during the period, suppose this income is I, then the relationship will change, as we have already seen that since this is the payment which will be given to the holder, so that has to be subtracted from the spot price, and we are taking the current price of it. For example, if the current price is 100, risk-free rate is say 3%, continuously compounded, and during the period $2 dividend is expected. So what should be the future price? Future price is nothing but 100 minus 2, that is 98 to the power e to the power 0.03. Suppose the time period is 1 year, so it is going to be like this. Now the future price is lower because of the dividend that is expected during the period. That adjustment has to be made, since the dividend will be issued to the person who is holding the stock at that particular time. So that adjustment will come automatically. Since the stock price is going to fall immediately the day the dividend is paid by the same amount. Now if the income or dividend on the stock is given in terms of percentages, suppose Q% dividend is paid, so then instead of this number we are going to put that in terms of rate here. So it is equivalent of saying S into e to the power RT into e to the power minus QT. So this is because of the dividend. Then based on that, the value of the forward contract can be said as S0 minus I minus K into e to the power minus RT. This is when the income is given. So ideally this should be equal at the time of initiation of the forward contract, but as we move ahead in time, this forward value and the spot value might change. Because of that, there might be a value of the forward contract, so it can be bought or sold in the market. If it is given in terms of rate, as we have seen earlier, we put S into e to the power minus QT. So this is basically the present value minus K into e to the power minus RT. So this is present value of the future price. So this relationship in the starting of the contract, initial period, this value is going to be 0. And while holding, since the spot price is changing, the value of forward contract might be different. Now let us look at the foreign exchange futures. So they follow the interest rate parity. We can explain it in this way. Suppose there are two currencies, currency A and currency B, and their exchange rate is suppose given by A, which is currency A per unit of currency B. So in 1 unit of currency B have A units of currency A. So this is how we are representing it. Now it should follow a interest rate relationship, which is called interest rate parity. Again, this is coming from no arbitrage condition. Suppose the interest rate in country A is 10% and the interest rate in country B is 5%, both continuously compounded, then what should be the relationship between their exchange rate? It is going to be forward into S into e to the power R minus RF, which is the interest rate differential. We can write it RA minus RB. So 0.05 into T. T suppose 1 year, for example. So this is what your interest is going to be. Suppose A is 100, spot rate is say 100. 100 unit of currency B is equivalent to 1 unit of currency A. Suppose this is currency B as per currency A. So per unit of currency A, there are 100 units of currency B into e to the power 0.05. So this is what the rate is. Now if this relationship does not hold good, suppose this future price is more, suppose F is greater than 100 into e to the power 0.05, then what is going to happen? In that case, we can borrow in currency B. So what we do in that case, we will borrow in this currency. Suppose we have bought 100 units of currency B. We have borrowed. So we have to pay the interest rate in currency B, and then we have invested in the currency A, where we are getting that interest rate of 10%. So these 100 units of B we have borrowed and invested in country A. So we are receiving 0.1 and we have to pay 0.05. So this has to be paid. Now this will be in terms of country A. When you convert, you are going to use a higher rate than this. So that will be your advantage. I said F is going to be higher than this value. So there will be a gain in this situation. Since the conversion will be from country A to country B, which will give you more in terms of that currency. So because of this, there will be a no arbitrage relationship. So that foreign exchange price will be 100 into e to the power 0.05 only in this case. So they follow interest rate parity so that arbitrage situation does not arise. Now let us move to the next concept. Now conceptually, both forward contract and future contracts are same. Let us see their prices are same or not. If the risk-free rate is constant across all the maturities, their prices are going to be exactly the same. But practically, if the interest rate and the spot price are related, if they are strongly positively correlated, then the price of future is going to be higher than the forward price. And if the relationship is opposite, that is the interest rates and the spot price of the underlying asset are strongly negatively correlated, the relationship is opposite, then the price of forward will be higher than the price of future. But if we are talking in terms of short term, small 3 months, 2 month, 1 month contract, then the difference between the forward price and the future price is going to be very small or negligible. Let us move to the next concept, the commodity future pricing. Now let us see how do we price commodity future, what are the other criteria related to the relationship. As we know that the consumption assets have the storage cost. So if the present value of all the storage cost during the period is suppose U dollar are required as a storage cost of the commodity. So that has to be paid by the person who is holding that asset. So the relationship will be like this, S naught plus U, which is storage cost, into e to the power RT. So our relationship changes a little bit because of this extra cost. So in addition to the interest rate, the other cost is the storage cost. Now if the storage cost is again given in terms of continuous yield, continuous compounding instead of one number, in terms of present value, then we put it at as ut. So it is nothing but s into e to the power rt, the earlier relationship, into e to the power ut. So if the storage cost is given in terms of yield, we can put it this way. If it is given in terms of present value, one particular number, we can simply put it here. Now if the convenience yield is also given, convenience yield is the extra gain which the person is receiving during the holding period of the asset. In addition to the cost, if there is some gain also, then that will be giving an opposite impact. So there is an subtraction of y there. So we have r plus u minus y. So this is the impact of gain. Since r is the interest cost, u is the storage cost, y is the yield. It is the gain of storing the asset or keeping the asset. So that is how we have all three components while pricing the commodity futures. Now let us move to the next concept, which is the delivery options in the futures. In the case of forward contracts, we know that delivery has to be made on the specified day. It will be mentioned in the starting itself in the forward contract. But while we are talking about the future contracts, generally it is given a range. So it is delivered during a certain period. In the case of future contracts, the shorts can deliver during a certain period. But there are cases where it is delivered in the starting of the period, where it is delivered in the end. If the future price is rising with time, so if we look at the relationship, f is equal to e to the power s into e to the power rt, but we have storage cost, interest cost and yield. Let us see cost of carry, suppose c minus y, which is the convenience yield. So this is the relationship. Now if we have c less than y, the cost of carry is less than the convenience yield, this is negative, and future price will be less than spot price. So with time it will converge to s, that means it will rise and reach to the level of s. So it is rising with time, or in other words we can say that it has an opposite relationship with time to maturity. In that case, the short side would deliver as late as possible. Suppose there are 3 days, so it will deliver on the third day or the end of the period, and vice versa. When the future price is falling with time, that is c is greater than y in this case, so f is going to be greater than s. So with time, future price will converge to spot price, so it will fall, or it will have a positive relationship with time to maturity. In that case, short would like to deliver at as early as possible or in the starting of the period, beginning of the period. So that was one consideration. Now let us move to the next concept, the concepts of contango and backwardation. So the case of contango is the one where we have an upward sloping forward curve. So this is normal forward curve. Suppose this is the spot price, and then we have forward contract of next month. Suppose the current month is say June, the next month is July, so forward contract of July. Then we have forward contract of August, forward contract of September. So the price is higher for the higher month. So it is upward sloping forward curve, and this happens because here the cost of carry is positive. So we have c as a positive number, so f naught is higher than s naught because of this relationship. So this is the common case of contango. Let us look at the backwardation. So this will have a downward sloping or inverted forward curve, which will be opposite of this. The spot will be higher and the say July contract is lower, the August contract is further lower and further lower. So it is a downward sloping curve. So for higher months, the price of the future contract will be lower. It happens because the convenience yield in those cases is greater than interest cost and storage cost. So overall cost of carry c is lower and convenience yield is higher. So c minus y into t, here y is more than c, so this number becomes less than 1. So f naught became less than S naught. So this is the case of backwardation. Now let us take a few questions here.